check.
Hello.
Check. All right. You're so far away.
I know. Hugh, I actually wanted to start. Hi. I wanted to start with you because you were involved incredibly early on with Craig Brewer, who's the writer and director of this wonderful film, even before he'd written a script. And so I was just interested in that journey for you as an actor and starting to develop a character, but having the gift of those very early conversations as this character was being conceptualized.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever said yes to something before a script was written, except early in my career when I said yes to everything. But I think Craig rang me. I was a huge fan of his. The moment I saw Hustle and Flow, I was like, who's this director? I love that movie so much. I know you had the same experience. And he said, dude, I want you to see this documentary. I think there's really a great movie here. And I think you'd be great in it. And I watched it and I immediately was obsessed with lightning and thunder and this story of two battlers. It's what we'd say in Australia, like Aussie they're battlers, you know, these two people dreaming huge and going through the ups and downs of life. And I just couldn't believe what I was reading. I thought it was, when I saw the documentary, I just couldn't believe it. And Greg, who did that doco, I found myself telling people about it for 30 minutes, boring the hell out of everyone. And that's when you know you're onto something, when you can't stop talking about it.
This is an Aussie slang class. A
Yeah.
doco.
Doco. Aussie battler.
And a battler.
Yeah.
What is it? How do you do it? How do you say it?
Like, did you say it again?
No, I'm so bad
There's
at
no
it.
R's. Battler.
Battler.
Yeah.
I mean, also for you, Kate, you've talked about how the thing that really drew you into Claire immediately was just that kind of fortitude and the fight that she has within her. And I think it's beautiful to watch someone who has a lot of pain in their past and in their present, but who has that optimism and hopefulness and that fight.
Yeah.
And what was that like, really discovering those different
Claire has
sides?
so much grit, you know, and like, and when she goes down really hard in life. You know, it's something she's struggled with a lot, and she's very open about it. And yeah, I mean, I love how Claire, it's like she fights to find the light, and I can relate to that. But yeah, I mean, I loved it. I loved every aspect of the themes of the script that Craig wrote, and what he took from the documentary and how he crafted the story. It has so many themes, but it's like a love letter to all of them. You know, it's a love letter to music. It's a love letter to family and the unit, and what it is to have that kind of like support. It's a love letter to like having the resilience and grit and getting through hard times. There's so many wonderful themes. It's so much humanity in this movie. And it was there in the script, and then while we were making it, as I think we all experienced, we all felt it when we were doing it. It's like Mike was there. We all felt this sort of like love for these people that got through so much that you can't even believe was real. Like this really happened. Yeah, so it was great.
Yeah, I love that, you know, and Hugh, also in talking about the way that you found your way into Mike, I've heard you say that lightning was the component that you found the most helpful to connect to first, to kind of develop what does the persona side of him look like and feel like, to then discover the rest of it, and wanted to ask a little bit about that process.
Yeah, it was a trip for me because I had to lose Hugh to become Mike, and then lose Mike to become Lightning. And I think a lot of that I found obviously in rehearsals, in the recording. We also sung live, so everything was live as well as recorded. And I could relate very much to Mike's love of performing, almost like a need for performing, which is something I've always had. I didn't think I would have the career I've had at all. It's exceeded every expectation, but I would have been still doing it in some way. I mean, I got my first job when I was 26, but I was doing amateur musicals and amateur plays and school plays right up till then. So I related to that. What I loved about Mike, and the other thing that really, I think, keyed me in, is that part of him that would not let go. There's a scene with him at the table where he says, I think I've got to let go of light. I can't do lightning anymore. You see what that means to let go of it, because obviously have no experience of it, but what I researched about the tunnel rats in Vietnam and the job that they had to do, 90% of them died. And of the 10% that survived, 90% of them became addicts, many of them heroin addicts, and it was just so traumatic. So he inherited from that a heart condition, and he knew he had a ticking, he didn't know how long he had, but music, Neil's music, performing, was what was keeping him alive through those hard years. And there was something about that I just keyed into I have to do this. I will not stop until I don't care if I'm performing for 2 people, for 20 people, 10,000 people. I want to play music and I want to get up there. And I loved that. And also, I might have gone off from your question, Myra, sorry, but it's also, to me, one of the best, I guess, stories I've ever seen about the power of family and how they found each other. They somehow they rescued each other, and not just them as a couple, but then their children and then their friends. And you look at that funeral scene at the end and it pans on and there's dentist Dave, Davey's manager, and Tom, who was just an insurance salesman, who was his, the promoter, and all these people together. I just love that.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. And, Kate, in talking a little bit about the dialect work that you did, I was interested in the way that you both studied Claire as a real person, from, the ability to look at that, but also Kathy Heller, who you met when you were a kid, who was your nanny and then worked with you for 27 years as your assistant.
Yeah, the Wisconsin accent is very embedded in my brain. She's like my aunt, but also, I worked with Hugh's dialect coach, who was amazing.
Jess Platt.
And you've worked with Jess for
28 years.
And my dialect coach was unavailable. I was like, oh no. But then Jess, I had such he's amazing. And so it was nice to work with him. And what was so funny about it was that a lot of the words that I would lean into, he'd be like, that's not Wisconsin. I'd be like, but Kathy talks like that. And I just was talking with her the other day, and she's like, oh yeah, I have a different kind. She does different vowels than sometimes like typical Wisconsin. So I had to actually relearn certain vowels that but yeah, I also love doing accents. I've never gotten a lot of opportunities to do them, and I think people who sing and have musicality, it might be something that we love to do. And so it's really fun for me to be able to just do that as well as everything else.
And for you, Hugh, in working with your dialect coach, what were some of kind of the nuances or the specificities that you found in working with them?
Jess, I don't know if anyone here has worked with Jess. I started with him on Someone Like You in 2000. He's got perfect pitch. He's actually a musician. He's got a terrible bedside manner. Everyone, you'll be on set and you hear, God, that was great. No, not great. Not great. It could be one word you've got wrong, but he's just very, very particular, and we have a way of working. He always gives me a sentence that I will say in my head. I will say it out loud for a while and annoy the sound people, but that sentence has every diphthong or vowel or anything that's different from mine or different from any accent I've done, so that I make sure that I'm specific and I get in there. And so I run that. And I have him there, luckily, because I don't want to think about it when I'm acting. So I have someone there to catch me if I fall.
And obviously, sorry.
Oh, no.
Obviously, the two of you have so much understanding of music, and it's really beautiful the way that music becomes a form of chemistry, but it's also communication constantly. And even just the first time they sing together, finding their sound in real time and physically moving closer when she changes instrument. And I wanted to ask about, using that scene and the conversation that starts to create for the rest of the movie.
Can I talk to this? Yeah. As someone who has been with many musicians in my personal life, I'm gonna say there's been a few. I will say that there's a if you have music in you, and you meet someone else that has music in them, the kinds of people that need to get it out, there's a language you can speak with that person that is so it's so meaningful. I mean, it's an intimate thing, but it's just wonderful. And I think that that's something I so related to with Mike and Claire, which is when you're singing with somebody, when you share that, and I think you see it in music all the time. You know, Graham Parsons, Emmylou Harris. You see all of these these wonderful musicians who find these partners that they sing with, and they just make beautiful music. And when you find that, there's such magic in it, and it's like ordained. It's like highly ordained feeling. And I loved that about Claire and Mike, that even in this world, that they're not like, you know, they're impersonators. They're really just trying to do the best they can with what they're being given, and they find each other. It's like they've like he said, they rescue each other, and it does happen through that connection in music. And when he says, like, can she sing, and he walks by and have that connection, that if you speak the language, you just know how good that feels. And so,
Yeah, that scene in when they have their first date and they go to rehearse together. I remember when I read that script, I thought this is key, because and this is a room full of actors. Like, it doesn't matter where you are when you're in that rehearsal room, and all of a sudden the hair on the back of your neck stands up. It could be you performing or someone else. When you just watch something come together, and you think, oh, hang on, we have something here. It's actually what we're probably all chasing all the time. I don't think there's any greater feeling than that. And what I saw it in Hustle and Flow, that scene with Taraji P. Henson and Terrence Howard when they're creating music. And so we did it live because Craig was like, we have to catch that moment. We got to find it. And Craig did such an amazing job of filming it and making us feel so comfortable, so that we could capture that moment,
Hugh, I also wanted to ask you about just finding that kind of physical urgency. You were talking about his heart condition, and he knows that he doesn't know how long he has left, and any moment that he gets those palpitations, that could be it for him. And you feel this urgency and the energy that you bring into him. And I wanted to ask about how you found that.
How do I find it? Once you know what drives your character, then underneath everything, whatever they're presenting, what that drive is. And I think with Mike, it was very pure. I think in some ways I share some of that need to be part of my tribe, which is this tribe, and to tell stories together in whatever form it is. But I think I had to ramp up the volume on it. And that's where I had to dig in and research and understand the fear of losing it, the fear of never having what you dream so hard. I've been so lucky. If I look back, I didn't get my first job till I was 26, but I've had a lot of people support me. But what would it be like if there was no one saying? So for Mike, it is the dentist, Dan. And you see it, Fisher Stevens, how good is he? When he just says that, line, I believe in you. And I always have. It makes me cry every time. So it's that thing of knowing you can't do it on your own. The other scene, that slays me, that when I saw it, was the scene with Ella. How good is Ella Anderson?
Ella Anderson, oh my God.
Rachel.
How about how excited I'm so excited to see what she's gonna do in her career. Like, she's such an intelligent, and on set, like, so in her body. And anyway, keep going.
That scene where she tells me that she's pregnant, and at the end, who's it you want in command? Who do you want with you? And she says, I want my mum. It just breaks my heart, So I think finding that for Mike, it's life or death. The dream he's on, his life is so precarious. He's flirted with not living and the pain of living, and whatever he's had to deal with in the past, it's real. And he has to stay on this thing, and the fear of losing that path and where that may take him and therefore his family, that's where I had to really ramp up the volume, I think.
I want to add to your question, just from an observant and someone who got to like be your scene partner, physicality is such a huge part of what we do. And when you and we work with all kinds of different people, and there's people who are really in their body, they're real physical actors. They're so much fun to work with because they're not afraid to move or try something. And that's you as an actor. It's like all the things with the urgency that I watch those scenes, and like the way you move is just like it says so much about like how you like who you are as an actor. You're a physical actor. And I mean, even the scene where you fall, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, did you do that fall with the head when you fell? Is that insane? Like, that is such a great fall onto your head in the bathroom when you split your head open. And that, I think, is a testament to, like, I mean, your bravery, but your inhibition when you're acting. It's like it's so much fun to watch, because we all know, like, you get in a room sometimes and there's people who have a really hard time knowing how to move. And not this guy. Not you.
But also in terms of the physicality that you have to do in the second half of the movie, because you know the stump was a prosthetic and then your leg is in a green screen sock,
yeah.
essentially. But there's two different types of physicality. It's, you know, what does it look like when she's not wearing what's the word I'm looking for?
The prosthetic.
The other prosthetic.
The leg.
And then what does it look like when she has it on and she's trying to figure out how to move with that for the first time? And so what was that like, finding those two different really distinct physicalities for her?
I watched a lot of this is my favorite rooms to talk about this stuff, because you get asked these questions and someone's like, how do I explain this to people who don't do what we do and like know how there's so many like it's just a lot of research, you know. For me, it was I watched 1,000 YouTube videos. I really wanted to understand too at the time, like, what kind of prosthetics they were, and how painful were they, and how long did the pain actually take to subside. And what I realized was that, you know, you have to kind of get through this, you know, it's mental and physical, and then the mental and the physical have to sort of meet, and then it kind of, you can find this new way of this new balance. And that was really kind of what I was working with. And obviously, you know, scripty helps you out a lot. You're like, where am I in the leg part of Claire? Are we, you know, but yeah, it's all physical. I mean, even at one point, remember we had to do this shot and it was really intense. And then they didn't make a hole in the bed. So I was doing the splits. So I did this whole scene trying to put my prosthetic on in the splits. And I was like, thank God I'm danced. Thank God I'm flexible, because I had to have like the leg behind me, and they had to bring in a new leg that moved, and the whole thing. And you know, you're dealing with and those are the moments I love more than anything as an actor. Cause it's crazy what we're doing. Like, you're like, look at what we do. Like, it's so much fun, and you have to believe every second of it, and you have to throw it all away, and you have to disappear into this, your mind, your imagination, and go there and, you know, just try to like channel something. And it's just the best job in the world, because it's so nuts. And and the thing that I love, I know now it's not answering your question, I'm on a tangent, but the thing that I love about it so much too is that then you know, when you love it so much, why you're doing it. And very rarely do you get the experience of being like, I leaned in and I committed, and the hope is to make something that people are going to love. You always want to feel good as an artist, and you have your own individual experience to it, but like, you want people to enjoy it. Yeah. And then when you see all this crazy shit you're doing and going through, and you know, and then you see it all come together, and it feels like this movie. It's like, it's the best feeling in the world. It really is. And I grew up with actors. Like, I grew up in a house of actors. It's like, you can't imagine, people on the outside think it's glamorous. Like, no, it's all about storytelling. It's all about what serves the movie. It's all about substituting and trying to figure out how to get somewhere and what's working and what's not. And, you know, it's such a collaborative experience. It's not singular at all. And, and so to be able to like go through the hills, valleys, you have to love it to want to do this job. You have to love it. And so if you really do love it, which I know Hugh does and I do, and then you get to see a product like this, you're like, this is why this is like the dream, you know? So that, I don't, my long-winded, you know, physicality.
Can I tell I want
A little side note about the prosthetic or the lost leg, because I just think it's so cool, and then a color to your performance that I think it would be cool to share with everyone. But Claire was on set quite a lot, and Rachel, the daughter, and a lot of the family that came. And Claire, I don't know if it was before filming or then, but told Craig, he said, you know, Mike was a leg guy. And her biggest fear, losing the leg, was that he would no longer find her attractive. And it sort of broke my heart when I heard it. And every time I see the movie, the scene where it's come for dinner and you put the prosthetic on, you put the leg, you don't want to just come out. And that nuance of the sort of shame of it, that element, it's not just pain, it's not just loss of mobility, the shame in it too. And I just wanted to, because I think what you do is so amazing.
It's true. Like it really like was, and Craig shared that with me. Yeah, and part of that, like another great thing is like when you've got great words and a great director who's there to really kind of like guide you. I feel like other than like having this partnership of intimacy and like a safe world and all the trust that we had in each other, Craig was so great at the way he would direct us, and you know, sort of how he would like get you to a place emotionally with directing. Like, you know, there was things he would say where immediately we would be like, oh yeah, you know. And Craig did say this one thing to me one time, and it was a moment where he wanted me to feel down and go down and scratch my leg, and he goes, you know, there's so much in the one movement to feel this something that's not there, and so much of that is about you know that you're no longer like he's not going to ever see me in the same way, and like so much shame, and then when you play it, and the Craig is so great at like making you dial in a little bit harder, and then pulling back too. So it never gets too like on the nose or too saccharine, or you know.
Wasn't one of the notes that he gave you, Hugh, in the car scene at the end, just kind of giving you a gesture of like, just breathe a little bit more, breathe deeply, and like, how did that help you in that moment, or what?
That
did you
very
discover?
last scene, in the last scene in the car. Yeah, he we worked on that a bunch because I wanted people to be able to look back and go, oh, it was starting to happen. So even there's the high of the concert, there's the slipping into something, and there's a relaxation. By the way, that really happened. He was in the car park. It was a few hours before, but I just wanted to add that. It really, in fact, everything that happened in this is true. Like, and just that feeling of whether he knew he was going to pass or not, just the feeling of almost like slipping into a bath and almost wanted just to go to sleep, but just you've had the greatest moment of your life, so you're happy. And even though there's the hilarity in the car, he was always like, don't get caught up in it. Stay. Keep the breathing shallow, but keep it slow.
And, you know, in talking about one of the other music moments, the first time they sing together again after the accident is so wonderful, you know, especially they're kind of relearning themselves with each other in a way. And it's almost like this rebirth for Claire, a rebirth of their relationship in this new way. And so by the end of the song, we're in a completely different place to where we started. And I wanted to ask about the way that you built that together.
That's the scene that makes actually me the most emotional, because it's like finding love again, or like that it's like that soul connection of like you can transcend anything with someone if you really believe in each other and like support each other. And I just I love that scene. I mean, it was just Craig, you know, he had very specific thing with that, which was the sort of panic of being up there for the first time again and feeling a little uneasy and not knowing what it is without going too far, and then finding each other. And when he turns around, I remember, you know, Craig says when he turns around, looks at you, it's like that ignition of like how you like this is it's you and me forever. And yeah, I love that because it's sort of what you long for in love. Like what are the sacrifices you make in love to stay with someone no matter what? In this day and age, it's really easy to leave. and there's something so wonderful about a story that's people that are fighting for each other, and I just love that so much.
In the documentary, you see it, and we certainly talked about it. There's actually, that's one area where, by necessity, because Hudson couldn't, it was like 6 or 7 years while after the accident before they have their comeback. I think it's something like that. And so there was a real genuine sense, and we all know this, it doesn't matter who you are, you don't do anything for 6 or 7 years, you're scared when you go back. Maybe I can't do it. Maybe I can't do it, maybe you can't do it, but maybe together we don't have that same magic. Who knows, you know? And what I loved about Craig's direction, he said, when you turn around, because Mike's very much someone who's driving, in terms of a performer, he's like an entertainer, he's driving things, always driving it. He says, when you turn around, you just look at her, you stop singing, because you're just there marveling at her and the journey and you're just so proud of her, and you give it to her. And I thought it was beautiful direction.
Because even for him, he's coming out of this place of having let Lightning go for himself and having this fear of, I love this person so much and I feel like I'm watching her disappear in front of me. What was your experience, or what did you really find emotionally kept driving him in those scenes? Because he's always been able to pull himself forwards, but that's the place where you really see him struggling to know how to anymore.
I just found that incredibly moving, letting go of something because you fear for whatever reason. Maybe your dream is hurting others. Maybe it's unrealistic. Maybe you shooting for the stars is selfish. Maybe you're just doubting yourself in every level. And when she comes back, he figures it's over, that she's not going to perform and that he won't perform anymore, and that they need to try and find a new life, but he has no idea how. And I think what I was saying before, keying in for him, the dream was life or death, literally. He struggled, to stay alive after Vietnam and after getting sober. And he was sober 20 years, but it was a struggle. And so the idea of letting go of that dream is terrifying. And somehow in that letting go, what I find so moving about that scene, particularly at the table, is how your character, how Claire becomes the grounding strength. And after coming back, just grabs and is so loving and caring. And that's where you see their love in many ways, or one of the places. But
absolutely. Well, you've both done phenomenal work in this movie, so thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Thank you
for coming to tonight's screening.
Thank you so much.
thanks, guys. Thanks, Mara.